I'm driving the car that really first started getting me interested into cars.
This is a 1973 Datsun 240z. So this represents that beloved 240, the beginning of Nissan's Z car, but it's the last year of the 240.
Massive thanks to James for letting us drive his car today because it's the classic. We've never driven one until now, and I'm amazed.
James is actually still in college. This is his project car. He bought it for about $6 grand, and the stuff he's done to it is all just to freshen it. He doesn't really want to make it a different car than it was. He just wants to make it kind of a modern refresh.
We're a small outlet, and we love what we do.
We do these big multi-car comparisons for TV and web, but we also do single car reviews. We have a long-term series going.
And once a year, we make a huge feature film. From the only full retrospective of the 911's first 50 years, to affordable exotics, the ultimate enthusiast road trip, and an examination of the M3 and its offshoots.
Plus, twice a week, we do an audio podcast, The Car Debate, where we help you find a fun car that fits your situation.
So we hope you'll join us for all of it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. One of the cool things about this car is the long nose and the styling. I only wish that Japanese styling nowadays were as beautiful and clean and sleek as this, because the shape still struck me deeply.
You can see the E-Type influence in the styling. You can see some of the E-Type influence even in the interior. It's all very 1970s simple. I mean, you can see there's influences here that work their way through Z cars, all the Z cars to follow.
I love the way old cars make me feel. It's got some charm, right? It's cool. I can see where future Nissans have come from.
And this has that smell of classic cars. I know that sounds weird, but the way the fuel has seeped into the cabin and the way the plastics are wearing, they all smell kind of the same.
I like it. How could I not? How could you not? Oh, it's so mechanical. Once you get used to how this car drives and how it shifts, you're able to move more quickly and do things more rapidly here. But the first time you're in it, I mean, listen to the noise, listen to the body panels. This is a 2.4 liter inline six and 151 horsepower.
Not an overly powerful car, but this only weighs 2,300 pounds. To be honest, you don't really feel like beating on it. But here's the thing, you get it above 3,000 RPM, this has genuine pull.
Even though half as powerful as the turbocharged engines we have now, it still has some grunt, some power coming out of there. It still feels torquey.
So this 240 is a 4-speed. The gearbox is very positive. It's very easy to tell what gear you're in. It's easy to slot the gears, but you cannot rush it. There is a beat, there is a 1 and 2 to the gearbox that you just can't really get ahead of.
So James is telling us this car is one of the easiest to heel and tow. I think he's right, to be honest. It's very easy, but this is very much in the vein of no rush. We're not going to rush anything here. Oh wow, okay, brakes are decent-ish if you get into them.
But they're much more brakes from the time period than brakes that are bad, if you follow what I mean. You do have to plan your braking. This can go quick. It's not a rock star, but it can go quick. So a 43-year-old car, you have to keep that in mind about everything in driving this. One of the fantastic things about that means it is very light and has fully manual steering. So 2,300 pounds, no assistance in this rack at all. Now when you first get going, that means it's a workout. But the minute you're going, it tells you everything. Now, Paul's reached a place where he doesn't want quite this much information. I love having this much info, but it rattles and it thunders with every little beat of the road.
I am amazed by the unfiltered nature of this car. We've driven older cars before, but this has got to be the unfiltered wheat beer of cars. Because it's so light, you can kind of muscle your way through the turns here. Modern cars have gotten very heavy. Even light ones that we talk about are 3,000 pounds. This one's nowhere near that. So while it doesn't dance, it's nimble and it can be coaxed. It's not like it has creaky old bones either. It can hustle. You just gotta be brave enough. Because every part of the car is gonna be screaming at you. See right there, the weight transfer feels pretty good. Now James has done a lot to this car to improve it. Muffler, this car was straight piped when he got it. The suspension,
Bushings and struts and springs and sway bars and things that just kind of modernize the car without going into full coilovers and craziness. One of the most interesting changes though are the tires. The original tire width on this was 185. These are bumped up to 225s.
talk about feedback. Wow, every undulation in the road. But then, because of the car and what it is, it'll tear the wheel out of your hands if you're not careful.
It is a stark contrast to any modern steering. There's no hiding any information from what's going on about the front wheels. This manual rack just tells you everything and lets you place the car right where you'd like it. These wider tires that James has on here have really helped. I mean, the confidence level in this car is surprisingly high. But it is amazing to find just how well sorted this platform is. I mean, there's an obvious reason why people love these so much. There's some work involved here to throw this around, but it's rewarding and engaging. It doesn't do anything surprising. It's very, very predictable. This is a speed maintenance car, and I'm surprised at how well. I mean, you can't brake all that aggressively to begin with, but I'm surprised at how well it does just hang on to speed. You can chuck it in, and it just goes, all right, let's do that.
Keep your foot in the power mid-corner. I wish you could smell and breathe what I am. And now I'm in top gear, fourth gear. Brakes. Wow, so fun. She needed a workout anyway. And the car, I think, likes it.
One downside to this is fumes. I haven't smelled this much gasoline since the last time I spilled some on my shoe. Yeah, there's a lot of fumes going on in here, and that's a little bit of a challenge, but okay, I mean, I'll forgive that. It is an old car.
I'm amazed by this thing. I think the question comes down to should you get one of these, because we're asked a lot about what car will start to increase in value. This has got to be a contender.
But the hard part's going to be finding one that's close to stock, because they are cheap enough, they've been cheap enough, they've been used for just about everything you can imagine. Finding a nice, clean stock 240 is difficult. James has already had people offer him more than he has into this car, but he just likes it, and I don't blame him. He owns a 370Z that's been fully track prepped, and yet this is his, I just want to work on it, I just want to drive it car. That's pretty telling.
This actually feels more put together and easier to drive than the early 911s that we've driven. That's interesting to me. But what a special thing. It's still exotic in my mind. I don't care if they're cheap. It's still a cool exotic car to me.
If you like classic cars, you want something simple with a classic good balanced layout, this needs to be on your short list. I'm not a huge classic car guy, but I still have to say this is pretty awesome.
What a cool car. What a cool car.